The docking bay was silent when the alarms began to wail. From the edge of the system, a lone human warship tore through the hyperspace barrier, leaving a trail of burning light in the void. Its hull was scarred, its engines shook with strain, but it was still flying. Dock workers froze. Traders stared from behind cargo crates. Even the station security officers stopped their patrols to watch the ship descend. The name was still there, painted across the battered metal. HSS Valiant. Many in the crowd whispered in shock. That's impossible. That ship was destroyed years ago. No, look who's at the ramp. The gangway lowered with a hiss of steam. A tall human stepped down first. His black coat hung heavy from the dust of 100 worlds. His face was lined, his eyes sharp, scanning the crowd with the focus of a soldier who had seen too many battles. Captain Yarrick. Some called him a hero. Others called him a ghost. All believed he was dead. But it wasn't Yarrick alone who made the air feel heavy. Behind him came a figure no one expected to ever see again. Her skin was pale silver, her hair like molten copper, her eyes glowing faint amber in the low light. She walked with her chin high, but the deep scars across her arms told a story of pain. Kyla Vire, a name that still made planets shiver. The crowd's murmurs grew louder. That's the exile, the traitor. She was banished from her own world. Why is she here? She's dangerous. She should be in chains. But she wasn't in chains. Her wrists were free. Her stride matched Yarrick's, as if she walked at his side by choice, not as his prisoner. Station guards stepped forward, their rifles raised. Their armor gleamed under the cold lights, but their hands trembled. The lead guard's voice cut through. A silence. By order of the Galactic Tribunal, Captain Yarrick and Kyla Vire are under arrest. Yarrick didn't flinch. On what charge? The guard's visor hid his eyes, but his tone was sharp. Treason, conspiracy, murder of a council. Elder, you will be taken into custody and transported to trial. Kyla's lips curled into a faint smile. They don't want a trial, Yarrick. They want a public execution. The guards moved closer, surrounding them. Yarrick's eyes never left the lead guard. You're making a mistake. The guard's voice was ice. The mistake was coming back. Behind the guards, the crowd was pushing forward. Reporters held up the recording drones. Civilians whispered to each other, some in fear, some in curiosity. One young dockworker leaned toward his friend. Why would a human risk his life for her? She's not even from his species. Yarrick heard the words. He didn't answer. Kyla's gaze swept across the crowd. She could feel their hatred, old, sharp, and ready to spill into violence. Her people had turned her into a symbol of betrayal. In their eyes, she wasn't Kyla anymore. She was the traitor queen who had almost brought the galaxy to war. The guards stepped in, their magnetic cuffs ready. Yarrick leaned slightly toward Kyla and spoke just loud enough for her to hear. We don't run. Not yet. Then what? She asked quietly. He looked straight at the lead guard. Then we let them bring us in. And when the time is right, we turn their own stage into their downfall. The guards clamped the cuffs on Yarrick's wrists first, the metallic click echoing across the docking bay. Then they bound Kyla's hands, the glowing restraints locking tight. Yarrick didn't resist. Kyla didn't either. As they were led away, cameras flashed, and the crowd erupted in shouts and cheering, most cursing. A child's voice broke through the noise. Mama, are they bad people? The woman pulled the child close. They're worse than mad. They're dangerous. Kyla's eyes flicked toward the little girl, and for a heartbeat, something in her expression softened. Then the moment was gone. The guards marched them into the station's inner corridors. The air smelled of recycled metal and cold antiseptic. Lights flickered overhead, shadows stretching across the narrow halls. Kayla tilted her head toward Yarrick. You know this ends with both of us dead. Yarrick's voice was calm. Not if I can help it. She studied him for a moment, searching his face for any sign of fear. She found none. The sound of their boots echoed in unison until the doors of the council's transport chamber opened before them. Beyond those doors lay a trial neither of them could win, at least not by playing fair. And yet, in the sharp line of Yarrick's jaw, Kayla saw something dangerous, not desperation, not hopelessness without a plan. The council hall was built to intimidate. The ceiling rose like the inside of a cathedral, but instead of stained glass, it was lined with shields from every star system under the tribunal's rule. Lights beamed down on the center platform, making it a stage. And a warning. Captain Yarrick and Kayla Vire stood on that stage now, their hands bound in glowing cuffs. Around them, the curved rows of council seats were filled with leaders alien. Rulers in robes, armored warlords, and cold-faced judges whose eyes followed them like hunting birds. The council speaker's voice rang through the chamber. Captain Yarrick of Earth, Kayla Vire of the Tethran Empire. You are charged with treason, conspiracy, and the murder of Elder Vorth. How do you plead? Yarrick's voice was steady. Not guilty. Kayla said nothing. She kept her gaze fixed. On the speaker, her expression unreadable. The speaker's tone grew sharp. Silence will be taken as an admission of guilt. Still, Kayla didn't speak. Yarrick's jaw tightened. You're accusing the wrong people. Murmurs rippled through the crowd of onlookers behind the council seats. Some had come for justice, others for blood. One council member, a tall insectoid with mirrored eyes, leaned forward. We have evidence. Witnesses saw Kayla planting the charges that destroyed the council chamber's west wing. You were seen escorting her away from the scene. Yarrick met the alien's gaze. You saw what they wanted you to see. The speaker slammed the gavel. Enough. The tribunal will decide your fate at the public execution ceremony in 3 days. Gasps and cheers filled the air. The guards began to move forward. That was when Kayla finally spoke. Her voice was low, cold, and deliberate. You're rushing to kill us because the truth would destroy you. The chamber went silent. The speaker narrowed his eyes. And what truth is that? Kayla smiled faintly. Ask Elder Vorth, if you can find him in the afterlife. He was not the victim you claim. He was building a war machine that would burn half the galaxy. I stopped him. That's why I was exiled. Shouts broke out across the chamber. Some council members shouted for her silence. Others demanded an inquiry. The speaker slammed the gavel again. Remove them. The guards stepped in, forcing Kayla and Yarrick toward the exit. But as they moved, Yarrick leaned toward her. Why didn't you tell me this before? He whispered. Kayla's amber eyes locked on his. Because now you know why they'll never let us leave alive. They were shoved into the dim holding corridors beneath the council hall. The air was colder here. The walls bare metal. 2 guards pushed them into a cell and locked the energy door behind them. For a long moment, neither spoke. Then Yarrick turned toward Kayla. If what you said is true, then someone out there knows. We just need proof. Kayla's gaze hardened. There is proof. But getting it will mean breaking into the most secure vault in the galaxy. Yarrick's lips curved into a dangerous smile. Then we'll need help. She gave him a look. Help? Anyone who tries to free us will be hunted. Good thing, Yarrick said. I know people who don't mind being hunted. He pulled a small device from the cuff of his coat. Something. The guards had missed in their search. With a flick of his thumb, it powered on, sending a coded pulse into the void. Far away. In the dark edges of space, someone's communicator lit up with a single message. He's alive. And he needs an army. The prison beneath the council hall was built for one purpose. Make you believe you had no way out. The walls were thick, The energy doors pulsed with deadly blue light, and the air was heavy with the hum of surveillance drones drifting above. The cells. Yarek sat on the cold metal bench, staring at the floor. To anyone watching, he looked calm. But in his mind, he was counting seconds. Beside him, Kayla paced like a caged predator. Every few steps, her amber eyes flashed toward the hallway. Your message? Will it reach them? It already has, Yarek replied without looking up. A faint metallic click echoed from somewhere down the corridor. A drone drifted closer. To their cell, its red sensor lights scanning them. Yarek didn't move, but his voice was low enough for only Kayla to hear. They'll come when the time is right. But we can't just wait. We need a distraction. Kayla gave a humorless smile. You're chained, unchained, and they have rifles. What kind of distraction are you thinking of? Yarek finally lifted his gaze to meet hers. One that makes them panic. That night, the council broadcast their public safety message across the city. Massive screens showed Kayla's face in stark light, labeling her a traitor and warning citizens to report anyone who spoke in her defense. But far from the shining core of the city, in the shadow districts where the law rarely walked, Yarek's old allies were already moving. A hooded man in a smoky cantina passed a small datapad to a scar-faced woman. Coordinates to the council prison. The captain says it's time. The woman's cybernetic eye glowed faintly as she smiled. Then it's going to be loud. Back in the cell, Kayla leaned against the wall. Your friends are risking their lives for me. Why? They don't even know me. Yarek's answer was simple. They don't need to know you. They just need to know I asked. Before she could respond, the corridor lights flickered. Once, twice. Then every light went dark. The hum of the energy doors faded. The drones froze. Mid-air, their sensors dying. A low rumble rolled through the floor. Not an earthquake-explosions, Dot. The silence lasted only seconds before alarms screamed to life. Red emergency lights bathed the hall in bloody shadows. The guard on duty shouted into his comb, but static answered him. He turned toward their cell, just in time to see Kayla step forward. With a sudden crack of movement, she slammed both her cuffed hands into the energy door. Sparks burst, and the weakened field shattered. She stepped out, her chains smoking from the shock. Yarek followed, moving fast. He caught the guard before the man could fire, twisting his arm and pulling him to the floor. Kayla knelt, yanking the rifle from the guard's grasp. Feels good to hold one of these again, she muttered down the hall. Shouts and the sound of gunfire echoed closer. Yarek tossed the guard's access card to Kayla. We're not running. We're going to the evidence vault. Her head snapped toward him. The vault? That's the most guarded part of the building. Exactly, Yarek said, loading the rifle. Which means that's where the proof is. Asterisk, the blast door smoke hadn't even cleared when the three armored figures charged in. Their armor was mismatched patches from old wars, dents from battles they'd barely survived. But their movements were sharp, dangerous. The tallest one stepped forward, his helmet visor glowing faint blue. Captain Yarek, he said through the comm, we got your signal. You're a hard man to find. Better that way, Yarek replied, slinging the stolen rifle over his shoulder. He nodded toward Kayla. She comes with us. The second figure, a woman with a jagged scar across her helmet, glanced at Kayla. The exile? The one everyone's screaming to kill? Yarek's tone was firm. The one who's about to help us burn the council's lies. No one argued. The alarms were deafening now. Red lights pulsed through the prison corridors like a heartbeat. Automated turrets folded out from the walls, their barrels spinning toward the intruders. Kayla moved, first grabbing a guard's fallen sidearm and firing in smooth, precise bursts. Sparks rained from the turrets as they died one by one. You've done this before, the scarred woman muttered. Kayla didn't look back. I've done worse. They moved fast, weaving through halls filled with smoke and shouting guards. Every time they turned a corner, another squad tried to block their path until one of Yarek's allies, a short, wiry man with a grin too, calm for the chaos around him, tossed a small sphere down the hall. It bounced twice before erupting in a blinding flash. The guards staggered, their weapons clattering to the floor. Old trick, the man said with a shrug. Still works. The deeper they went, the colder the air became. Finally, they reached a massive door-thick metal, sealed with layered locks. Kella's amber eyes narrowed. That's it. The evidence vault. The scarred woman tapped at a wrist device. 3 minutes to crack it. We don't have 3 minutes, Yarek said. We have company. Down the hall, heavy footsteps thundered closer. Not guard shock troopers. Elite. Faster, better armed, trained to kill without hesitation. Kyla stepped in front of the others, raising her weapon. Open the door. I'll hold them off. Yarek moved beside her. Not alone. The fight was fast and brutal. Shock troopers swarmed in, their black armor glinting under the emergency lights. Energy bolts sliced through the air, burning into the walls. Yarek fought like a man who'd been waiting for this moment, every shot deliberate, every move efficient. Kayla fought like she had something to prove her, strikes vicious. Her eyes burning with fury. Behind them, the vault locks clicked open one by one. 30 seconds. The scarred woman shouted. A trooper lunged toward Kayla. She met him head-on, grabbing the barrel of his rifle and twisting hard until the weapon snapped. She slammed the butt of her own gun into his helmet, dropping him instantly. Yarek glanced over. Remind me never to make you angry. Kayla almost smiled. Too late for that. The final lock on the vault disengaged with a heavy clunk. The scarred woman swung the door open, revealing rows of secure data cores glowing faint blue. Kayla stepped inside first. There it is, the file on Elder Voreth. She pulled a small cylinder from the rack, its screen flashing with encrypted symbols. Yarek didn't waste time. Move. We need to be out before the whole building collapses. They rushed toward the exit, the cylinder tucked under Kayla's arm. But just as they reached the main hangar, the building shook violently, an entire wall tearing open as a massive Council warship descended outside. Its guns locked on the prison. The scarred woman swore. We're not making it to the shuttle without being turned to dust. Yarek looked at Kayla, then at the warship, and smiled in that dangerous way of his. Maybe not, but I think I know how to make them hesitate. The warship's guns stayed locked on the hangar, their barrels glowing with deadly heat. Overhead, the sky was filled with the low hum of Council fighter drones, circling like vultures. Inside the hangar, Kayla gripped the evidence cylinder so tightly her knuckles turned white. Yarek, they won't hesitate. They'll kill us before we can take one step. Yarek's eyes didn't leave the warship. Not if we give them something they can't erase. He tapped the communicator on his wrist and linked it directly to the evidence cylinder. Kayla blinked in shock. You're broadcasting it now? No, Yarek said simply. The cylinder's encryption fought back. Streams of alien code racing across the hangar's walls as the small projector came to life. Then, the first image appeared. It wasn't propaganda. It wasn't rumor. It was the truth. The holoscreens across the galaxy lit up. Citizens from the core worlds to the forgotten outer rings saw Elder Voreth in a secret meeting with Council leaders, planning a war that would wipe out dozens of free systems. They saw the hidden factories building fleets of stealth cruisers. They saw the orders to frame Kayla for sabotage. They saw the Council signatures on execution lists for entire planets. In the streets of the capital, people stopped and stared at the sky-high displays. In backwater spaceports, traders watched in silence, their hands curling into fists. In military Barracks, soldiers turned to each other with grim faces. On the warship outside, the captain's voice crackled over the comms. "Captain Yarrick, is this real?" Yarrick's reply was steady. Every word, every image, and now the galaxy knows. The captain hesitated. In the background, voices shouted orders, warnings, desperate attempts to maintain control. Then the captain made his choice. "Lower your weapons," he ordered his crew. "I will not be the one to silence the truth." Kayla's gaze swept the hangar. "You just declared war on the Council." Yarrick shook his head. "No, they declared war on themselves. All across the galaxy, riots erupted. Crowds stormed Council outposts, tearing down banners. Entire fleets broke away from the Tribunal's control, their admirals pledging to stand against the corruption. The Council broadcast emergency statements, calling Yarrick and Kayla terrorists and claiming the files were fake. But the proof was too strong, the images too damning. In the hangar, the scarred woman stepped forward. "We've got ships ready, but the Council will throw everything they have at us now." Yarrick looked at Kayla. "Then we meet them head-on." Kayla's voice was firm, not as fugitives, as the spark that lights the rebellion. Asterisk, the Council's flagship blotted out the sky. Its massive cannons glowed with building power, ready to erase the hangar and everyone inside it from existence. Scarred woman's voice was sharp. "We've got one shuttle, Captain. It's fast, but not faster than those guns." Yarrick didn't blink. "Then we make them miss." Kayla stepped forward, her eyes locked on the monstrous ship. "We can't outrun them. We have to hit them first." The scarred woman shook her head. "We don't have the firepower." Yarrick smiled, just enough to be dangerous. "We don't need to destroy it. We just need to make the galaxy see them try to kill us live." Within minutes, the shuttle roared out of the hangar, weaving through the Council fighters swarming like angry insects. Kayla manned the gun turret, picking off any drone that got too close. The flagship's comms crackled with the speaker's voice. "Surrender, Yarrick. The galaxy will forget you in days. But if you resist, you'll be gone. In seconds." Yarrick's voice was cold. "I'm not the one the galaxy will remember. You are." He hit the broadcast link again, sending a live feed from the shuttle's cameras across every free channel. Billions of eyes watched as the Council's flagship targeted them two fugitives, carrying proof of its crimes. Then the flagship fired. The first beam narrowly missed, lighting the darkness with a blinding flash. The second clipped the shuttle's wing, sending it into a violent spin. Kayla gritted her teeth, holding onto her seat. "One more hit like that, and we're done." Yarrick steadied the controls. "Then let's not give them another chance." From the shadows of the system, ships began to arrive. Not just a few dozens. Human freighters refitted with cannons. Alien cruisers painted with rebellion symbols. Independent fighters from worlds that had once sworn loyalty to the Council. The comms erupted with voices. For Earth. For Tethrin. For the free worlds. The rebel fleet charged. The blackness of space turned into a storm of light and fire. Explosions bloomed like deadly flowers. Council warships broke formation under the surprise assault. Kala's turret blazed. Nonstop, her eyes fierce. "You weren't lying about your friends." Yarrick grinned as he dodged a missile. "You haven't met all of them yet." The fight raged for what felt like hours, though it was only minutes. Then, with a final coordinated strike, the rebel ships tore through the flagship's shield generators. The massive vessel drifted, powerless. Its guns went dark. The rebellion had won. For now, as the rebel fleet regrouped, the comm channels buzzed with victory cheers. But Yarrick's voice cut through, calm and steady. "This isn't the end. They'll come back harder. We have to be ready." Kayla nodded. "And we will be." because now the galaxy knows the truth. Later, as the shuttle disappeared into the safety of deep space, Kayla looked at Yarrick. "What do they call us now?" Yarrick glanced at her, a faint smile on his lips. The spark that lit the stars. And somewhere in the darkness, the embers of rebellion began to burn hotter. They tried to kill the truth. Instead, they made it immortal.